The camera, I just turned it to video. The camera is way light. If I take a photograph, the lighting is way lighter than when I take a video. If I switch it to video, it's way darker. I'm about to get in the tub right now. So I got the low dose naltrexone here. Got it in liquid form because it's cheaper. So I'm going to try it. I'm surprised how afraid I am. I react so terribly to medications, but there's this irrational fear I have because of a long history of sleepwalking and sleep eating. I sleepwalked and sleep ate for 40 years, and doctors didn't know how to help me. No one knew what to do. People thought it was funny. It wasn't funny. It was torture. And I would, I was raising a child. I would wake up and raid my kids. I would raid my kid's Easter basket in the middle of the night. My kid would wake up to an Easter basket with the chocolate eaten out of it, or her Christmas stocking broken into, and no memory of it, right? And I would wake up to a kitchen torn apart, or handfuls of a cake taken out. I'd wake up with food in my hair, food beside the bed, on the floor, food in my bed. There were times my daughter would wake up in the middle of the night and come to my room. I guess, I don't know if she would turn the hallway light on or how she would I wasn't in complete darkness. She could see me I don't know if she would turn the hallway light on or what, but she would come into my room and see me and let out a blood-curdling scream, because my face would be covered in what she thought was blood, and my hands, and it would be melted chocolate. She did that a few times, came in and screamed. I'd wake up choking on food. And as my complex sleep issues got worse, they would raise the medications, and things were just getting worse. And it got to the point, it got so bad that I started walking. I woke up a couple times outside barefoot in the snow, with nothing but a little nightgown on, out in the middle of the street. And it got to the point where I was terrified to go to bed. I was terrified to go to bed at night because I was afraid I would escape the house. And I started to push furniture in front of the front and back door at night. It was like living in fear of someone would find me in the middle of this night naked in the street or something, right? And it just escalated, and all the sleep issues got worse and worse. This insomnia got worse. The amount of time I slept got less and less. My breathing got worse. The sleepwalking and sleep eating got worse. And and then eventually it reached the point where I decided to wean off of all the medications I was on to see if anything was affecting my sleep, because the doctors didn't think, to see if the medications were affecting anything, because I used to be depressed. I used to have severe brain fog, blah, blah, blah. Just my memory was gone. I couldn't concentrate. I didn't just wean off of medications to see if the sleep would improve. I weaned off of everything to see if anything would improve, and so many things improved. But to make a long story short, the medications were causing the sleepwalking and sleep eating for 40 years. And imagine that, hey? And nobody could figure it out. So I started to wean off the last sleep medication. I was off of, well, when I started to wean off of the last sleep medication, it was the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019, and the sleepwalking stopped the minute I began to wean off of the Zopiclone. So it stopped. But I have such an irrational fear because I sleepwalked and sleep ate for 40 years. Often it was sugar I was after, and I would just gorge on sugar while asleep. Anything I could get my hands on, or meat, even like shrimp or chicken or whatever. But often it was sugar, and I have this irrational fear even still. So I stopped sleepwalking 6 years ago, and I still have, after 40 years, it's just ground into my head, that cycle of waking several times a night and wandering the house throughout the night. And it's part of that is still in my head. Like, the actual sleepwalking stopped immediately. I was still wandering the house because I was wandering the house awake during the night because it had become so habitual. But I have this irrational fear of anything in the house that's got sugar in it. I still have this irrational fear that I'm going to fall asleep, and while I'm sleeping, I'm going to eat all of it. So when I brought, THC gummies into this house, even when I was buying them, I thought, oh, I'm afraid to buy these. I'm afraid to have these in my house, because I am literally afraid that I'm going to wake up and eat all of them at once and then end up in the ER. And even as I'm telling you this, I tried THC for a couple of weeks, and it's not for me, and it severely constipated me. But there's still a few gummies here, and even as I say this to you, I still have this irrational fear that I'm going to fall asleep. Well, maybe it's not irrational. Maybe it just, it makes sense. But I have this fear that I'm going to fall asleep and I'm going to eat all of them at once. And so this LDN, it's sweet. It's got sugar in it, and it's like a syrup, right? And I am afraid, when I was ordering it, when we were talking about it, when I was talking to the pharmacist, as we were talking about it, I thought, man, I bet you I'm going to be afraid to have this in the house. And I am afraid to have it in the house. I'm afraid that I'm going to sleepwalk and drink the whole thing because it's got sugar in it. Isn't that crazy? Maybe it's not so crazy, but it worries me. It nags me. And it's not, medications or anything that I'm after. It's I think it's the sugar. I've never really sat and talked about this to anybody, and I've never sat and thought about it either. But yeah, it's this fierce, irrational fear. And, I'm still uncomfortable having the gummies in the house because, they're like little candies, right? So yeah, it's weird. I guess maybe it might be like it's like an anxiety, like let's say you're an alcoholic and you've got company in the house and they brought, you know, a few bottles of whiskey with them in their luggage or something, and you're thinking about that. Geez, I hope that, I hope I don't break down, and you know what I mean? That's what it's like. It's like I don't trust myself with this because in case I fall asleep and I'm after the sugar. It's not a sugar addiction, but it's interesting because right when I started tapering, the sleepwalking stopped. I don't think when I talk to this about people, when I talk to people about this, about the sleepwalking and sleep eating, like my sleep issues got really complex, right? And the sleepwalking and sleep eating are only part of it. When I talk to people about it, I don't think they realize the level of harm that caused me. That it was literal torture on the brain and my sleep. It was torture to my sleep. It was torture to the mind. When your brain is being disrupted so many times during the night for years, for decades, right? And all the years of raising a child, and like, I don't think it was all the time. I don't know how often it was, but sometimes it was much worse than others. Like sometimes I'd be out of the bed 10, 12 times. Sometimes I'd be out of the bed every 10 minutes while I was still awake, up and down, up and down. And then during the night, I would see evidence in the morning of what I had eaten or ripped apart, as far as like what it physically did to me. Now you got to realize too, I had undiagnosed sleep apnea. I had undiagnosed respiratory depression. Like I was literally tortured. Literal physical and psychological torture to the brain. Torture in my life. I was so critically sleep deprived for and I still am severely sleep deprived. But imagine working full time. You've got 2 dogs. You're raising a child. You've got a yard, a house. You've got 100 responsibilities. And your sleep is so fragmented and you're running on empty and you're running a marathon. You've got undiagnosed apnea. You're stopping breathing at night. You're sleepwalking. You're sleep eating. You're struggling to breathe. Lack of drive to breathe. Imagine all. I don't think anybody, when I talk about it in posts, when I try to educate people about what happened to me, I don't think anyone understands the level of harm that was done to me and the trauma. Like I am still so traumatized by it all, and the medical community wants to minimize it, like, oh well, whatever, or they want to deny that this happened, right? Well, I can prove it. I've got witnesses. Got Anyways, yeah, so I'm going to bed uneasy with this product in my house. But usually I just kind of wrap things up tight and try to put them out of reach and try kind of hide things and leave a note where I've put them type of thing. Crazy, hey?